U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is in Beijing for policy talks on fentanyl, Taiwan, and other U.S. China geopolitical flashpoints. This is Sullivan's fifth meeting with senior Chinese officials in less than 18 months. For a closer look, let's bring in Richard Haass, Counsel on Foreign Relations, President Emeritus and Senior Counselor with Centerview Partners. And thanks for joining us. Richard, yesterday, I like the look. You just gained like 40 IQ points. I think, right? Is it?
I'm desperate, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. It's a low bar from a low level. No, Richard. Yesterday we had as an aside, we had someone on who said that because of a declining birth rate, someday China could go the way of Japan in the 80s and what's happened. And for me, that was like, wow, that would take a huge weight off a lot of our collective minds and shoulders if we didn't think we were someday just heading towards some type of collision course with China. Is that possible? Is that a reason for hope?
It's possible, but it's not. It may not be a reason for hope. I mean, the demographic projections basically, right, Joe? China's now what, 1.3, 1.4 billion. Projections are by the end of the century, it could be maybe what, 800 million. So massive decline overall in numbers. Also, China is getting older, so the ratio of people who are of working age to those who are too young or too old is going in the wrong direction for China. This is the result of everything from the One China policy to the Chinese people just not trusting the government and the economy and wanting to have big families, not having enough good housing, you name it. But there's a big but here. If the Chinese leadership ever comes to conclude that time is running out, it's not on their side, then I worry about the midterm. What might they do in 5, 10, 20 years, particularly with something about Taiwan, where they feel that they've got a window that's closing and they've got to act. So again, demographic decline, in general decline, doesn't necessarily mean a more restrained country.
Right, and neither one of us, we may not be around in 40 or 50 years, Richard, so we probably don't. So let's talk 2 or 3. Anything, would it surprise you if things came to a head in 2 years?
That would surprise me, though I do worry a little bit about the 75-day period here between the election and inauguration day. If we have massive instability under various scenarios, I wonder or worry who in the world might try to take advantage of it. But I don't think China's quite ready to bring the Taiwan issue to a head. A couple of reasons, Joe. They see that they're seriously outnumbered in the nuclear realm, and they want to be able to offset us. China right now has the fastest growing nuclear arsenal in the world, bar none. But they probably need something on the order of another decade to get in the same nuclear zip code as the United States and Russia. They're still building up a lot of their forces. They've had a lot of senior level changes in their military. They saw what happened to Russia, how it performed militarily quite poorly in Ukraine. They saw the sanctions. So my guess is the Chinese are very, look, their appetite, shall we say, for Taiwan, their dreams about Taiwan are still there. But I don't see them on the brink. But in 5 years, I might give you a very different answer.
So many flashpoints. Not sure what to think of the Mideast at this point. Sometimes you worry that when you see restraint from Hezbollah or Iran, it's self-serving. So they got something bigger planned long term, right? They don't want Netanyahu taking out their nuclear facilities. Can we talk about Ukraine? Did you see RFK Jr. talking about Ukraine, that if almost the bear, if someone didn't poke the bear on NATO expansion, that this would have never happened? Is that notion getting wider play in some circles, mainly Republican?
It's getting some wider circulation. I don't find it compelling, to say the least. Listen to what Putin has said and written about 8 months before he went into Ukraine this time around in 2022. He published this long, quote unquote, column or op-ed where he talked about Ukraine being an integral part of Russia. So my hunch is he had the ambitions. And he also calculated that it wouldn't be that hard. He saw the United States get out of Afghanistan. He thought we didn't have the stomach. He thought Europe was basically weak. Ukraine he saw as weak and corrupt. I think he had an expanded view of the capabilities of his own military. So Putin calculated wrong, but it wasn't a nonsensical calculation. But no, there was nothing new at all on the agenda whatsoever about NATO enlargement with Ukraine. It wasn't about to happen. It hadn't been put in motion. So I don't buy that at all.
Also interesting that he said that Lloyd Austin, that's the defense secretary, actually has put into words that part of our strategy is to degrade the Russian army through, and that wasn't sold to the American public, and it's not something that we should be doing. I mean, it's some weird undercurrents, cross currents. I don't know what happens if Trump becomes president again, Rich. What do you think could happen? Could he immediately say, all right, this is the deal I want. You're going to keep this, 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 and Zelensky, you got to do this, this, and this. Is that a possibility?
It is. Secretary Austin's comments were unscripted and unfortunate. Let's just put that down. In terms of Trump, look, he's a hard guy to make predictions about, as you know. But sure, he could basically go to Ukraine and say, unless you accept this outcome, no more arms from the United States. The question is whether Trump puts any pressure on Russia. And that to me, is an interesting possibility. What demands would he make of Vladimir Putin if he wants to get? You're not going to get peace. That's not in the cards. Could you get a temporary or interim truce or ceasefire? I don't think that's out of the question. But Putin has to be persuaded we're there for the long run. And Ukraine has to feel they don't have a blank check, possibly.